back to the case. I'm going to set that drum inside. And the clutches on this drum right here is going to have to align with these grooves, and the planetary gears are going to go around this ring gear, this outer ring. All right, so you're going to end up having to do, you're going to have to turn this until it drops down. So that's what I'm about to do now, and I'm going to let you hear how this sound when it's down. It's going to be a clunk. Hear that clunk? This top one is down, and the whole shaft is down. That's metal against metal. That lets me know that this is fully down. The clutches and the splines have meshed together. Okay, right now what we're doing is putting some oil around, because we're going to set the bell housing on top. It has a clutch assembly behind that bell housing, and the seals goes through the stator shaft. So set it down easy, and you can use dowel pins and put inside the case so they can come through the bell housing, so you can know what position you have if you want. But right now I'm not doing that. Okay, so what you have to do is twist it a bit, because the clutches have to align with the splines. As you can see, it drop down, and you twist it and drop some more. Now it dropped all the way down. Okay, and then you line the holes up of the bell housing with the case. Now what I got here is some seal all, and I like to put this, or some people may use silicone, but put this around the bolt head. The reason is, I don't want any chance of there being a leak. It's heartbreaking when you bolt a transmission up to the engine and you have everything together, and then all of a sudden you have a leak, and it's coming from where the bell housing is, where it meshes with the engine. Oh, you got a bolt that's leaking. So I always put some type of adhesive or glue, or maybe silicone around the head. If you put the bell housing bolts in, then you tighten them down. Again, I'm using this impact, however I have it on low pressure because I'm going to use my ratchet to tighten them down. Now I'm tightening two bolts across from each other, and there's something you have to do, and that is this input shaft here. You have to turn. If you can't do it by hand, get some pliers. Make sure it turns like this. If it does not turn, that means something behind that bell housing is not all the way down. It will bind up, so it has to turn freely. After you determine that, then go around and tighten all of the bolts, the bell housing bolts. Okay, now we got two bell housing bolts that's on the back that we have to tighten up if you haven't forgotten those. They're right here, that one and the other one. So you have to tighten these up also, and then you will be finished with the bell housing bolts. Alright, after you do that, turn it over, and we got to go to the valve body now. Alright. Okay, now we have the valve body, and you have to make sure that the manual valve has this slot right here. The slot fits inside the pin on the rooster cone, or the pin has to go into this slot. If you miss that, then the manual valve won't work, and you'll be stuck in some position. I don't know what position it be, but wherever position the manual valve is in, that's where you'll be. Okay, you can see, you should be able to see that right there, how that pin is in the slot right here. Next, there's this little pin here that goes into the valve body. It goes in this position where it is right here, and that's to help hold the detent spring in place. This part right here, you can see it goes right there. Now what you want to do is take all of the valve body bolts and put them in their position. Okay, after tightening the valve body bolts, what you have here is the detent spring, and the end of that detent spring fits over that pin, and then you have to put in the bolt that holds the detent spring down against the rooster cone and tighten it. Next is the filter. Put some oil in here. Make sure the O-ring is around there. That's the thing. It goes into a slot right here. Make sure put it in the slot.
Yeah, a couple more weeks. You hear that every year, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely did. Gotta go get the like man. Alright.
Now you have a pan gasket, which is a rubber gasket, and you put that on the pan. Make sure you don't forget the magnet that's inside the pan. And place it on the transmission. Alright, next you have the transmission pan bolts and the clips. Place those on there and tighten those down. Okay, now we gotta go to the tail end and put this yoke back on. Now you want to probably tap it down a bit, because you have to put this nut in there and it has to be able to reach the thread. So take a hammer and just tap it down. Goes the nut. Now one thing you have to do, once you tighten this nut down, right here there is an indentation there where you need to take a punch. You can see down here, and you want to peen it over. This stops the nut from spinning out. So you want to pin it over in that groove. Alright, now we have the connector. It has an O-ring that goes around here, as you can see. And you want to put, this is the very last, so you want to put this inside the transmission. There are protrusions inside this is actually going inside the conductor plate. There are protrusions in there, so make sure you oil it up, because you're going to have to snap this in, but you have to line it up so the pins can go through this connector here. Okay. And it has a 7mm bolt that you're going to have to tighten right inside. So let's get this in. Make sure you line it up, and you're going to have to line those up properly and then press them in. You have to press it down and then take a 7mm screw, 7mm socket, and screw it by hand. You don't want to screw this with an impact. You want to go by hand because you need to feel it. If not, if you strip the threads, then you are in trouble. Tighten it by hand till you feel it getting tight, and then snug it a bit. Don't over tighten that, you'll mess it up. Alright, this is the end.